everyone, and welcome to the Scale Your Sales podcast. Now, have you ever thought about what is the real impact of implementing a social selling program? Well, with me today is Paul Lewis, who can tell us more about the practicalities, the pitfalls and the outcomes of implementing such a program. Now, Paul has 20 plus years as a marketing veteran. Now, you always wonder about what the plus is about, really, don't you? Paul began his career as a global advertising agency, a BBDO. He then moved to serve a long tenure with software and information solution providers like Experian and the like, leading various marketing and lead generation and sales enablement initiatives. Now, since 2013, Paul has overseen the social media marketing and digital sales enablement, that's a long word, sales enablement program at Pitney Bowes. Now, he has built and scaled a highly effective social selling program, which to date has generated over $30 million. Welcome to the Scale Your Sales podcast, Paul.
Thanks, Janice. Great to be here.
It's great to have you. Now, first of all, I want to just get clarification on what does Pitney Bowes do for those people that don't know?
Okay, most people would probably know Pitney Bowes, around franking machines or postage meters. That's, pretty much what we're synonymous for. But the company has evolved. We've transformed over the years. We now have a whole variety of different solutions that really power transactions in the world of digital commerce.
Brilliant. I mean, that's just it. I remember the franking machines, but you kind of don't know what they do now, but we're going to get into that. Now, I really want to delve straight into the beginnings of social media for you as a marketer. Can you think way back, it's not so long ago really, when it first came about, Facebook and all of that, and it really wasn't for business. Were you quite skeptical in those days? Did you think, oh, this will never last? Or did you really anticipate the current impact?
No, I've got to be totally open and honest here. I was skeptical. In fact, I was probably late to the party, as they would say. Late joining Facebook, joined LinkedIn, created a profile, never really kind of used the network in any great way. In fact, there was probably about a year whereby I didn't even log in, I would say. But, slowly but surely I started to see how social media could play a role within marketing and also within a sales capacity, and that's when I started to explore it a little bit further.
And it's changed enormously, hasn't it? And so how did Pitney Bowes? How did you get them involved in the social selling program? What was the beginnings of that?
It really came about when I joined the business back in 2013. Whereby we were just looking at new channels to try and generate further awareness about our products and solutions, but ultimately generate leads and generate leads in a cost-effective manner. And in a previous organization, I kind of been working to a certain capacity, with LinkedIn in that very manner. And, I kind of just saw it as sort of a natural progression really to begin to adopt that at Pitney Bowes. And that really was sort of the catalyst for for what's known today as the social selling program here.
So what were the pitfalls? There must have been some things that you tried and didn't really work, because it really is about blending all of the different social selling tools so that it aligns with your customer base, your company culture, and all of those things. So there must be things that you started that really weren't working, and then other things that absolutely, kind of excelled.
Yeah, to give you an example, at the time I was working with various different sales reps or business development reps. A number of them were as we were saying just a few moments ago, very, very skeptical about using social media, as part of their, let's call it, sales toolkit. At the same time, I had individuals that were saying to me, well, the kind of, personas that I target, the customers that I have, they're not on social, they're not socially active. So, if they're not there, why would I even consider, spending time there myself? So, it was issues like that I had to overcome. And it took a little bit of time. But thankfully I got there.
It's interesting. We were talking a few weeks ago, and I gave you an example of a company that I was talking to, and they said exactly that. Like, we've known our clients for like 15, 20 years. A lot of them are not on social, and actually a lot of clients are on social. You're just not aware of it because you're not on social. But anyway,
exactly.
And so they said, like, why bother? And I said, well, okay, are some of those business owners and clients, are they looking to retire? In what time scale? Maybe 5 to 10 years. Okay, well, who is going to be taking over those roles? Is it likely to be millennials who are into social media and are using a lot of the new technologies? Do you think you should wait until they're in place? Because do you think that they are more likely to want to speak to a supplier that speaks the same language as them, or do you think you really need to get on board now?
I think you've got to go for it now. You can't afford to wait today. I say frequently when I'm introducing the social selling program to individuals at Pitney Bowes, I've got 3 daughters. They've all got mobile phones. They do everything on those mobile phones, sending text messages and using social media apps and instant messaging. The only thing that they don't do, though, with those devices is actually make a phone call. I look at that and I relay that to the individuals that I'm introducing the program to, because they've got to change their mindset. These are the individuals that are slowly but surely finding their way into into the business landscape, and they've got a completely different way of going about communicating and engaging with individuals. I'm not in any way saying that the traditional sales methods are finished. I think there's definitely still a place for sort of telemarketing, telesales and cold calling, but simply that there are new processes now that are coming in that augment those traditional methods, and you've just really got to broaden your horizons, because otherwise you're really going to start to sort of silo yourself.
So what do people at Pitney Bowes come to you for? What are the typical things that they may ask for, or that they're struggling with, that your social selling can help them with?
I would say fundamentally there's 2 key aspects there. Number one, it's on the prospecting side. So I'll have individuals that will approach me and say, I am looking to target a specific persona. They'll give me the criteria. I will help them then to obviously go ahead, build a list and identify the key individuals that they're looking to target. And then kind of dovetailing onto that, it's then a case of, well, okay, now that we've identified the individuals that we are looking to target, what can we do to try and kickstart that process of engagement and get a dialogue going? So it really is enabling the salesperson to identify the individuals that they want to target, and then begin that engagement process, with the goal being to take that conversation from online to offline, whether that be a telephone call or even better, a face-to-face meeting.
I remember you gave me an example of trying to target someone and sending them something that they really wanted, and that's quite a traditional marketing thing, but using a combination of online in order to actually do that. So can you relay that to us?
Yeah, sure. This was a couple of years ago now. I think it was probably 18 months, 2 years ago. Colleagues of mine that were based in Sweden were running a breakfast seminar. And they approached me to say, look, we're trying to drive senior marketing individuals and customer experience professionals. Those are the types of individuals that we're trying to get along to this breakfast seminar. What can you do to help us? And they were targeting, I think it was 3 specific industry sectors: telco, financial services, and I think it was insurance. And this breakfast seminar was being run in Stockholm in Sweden. So using LinkedIn, what we were able to do was to actually identify those personas. Then we purchased, I think it was 50 copies of a book that was written by 2 Forrester research analysts, which we mailed to these individuals. So we used, kind of the traditional physical channels of good old direct marketing. And we mailed them a copy of the book with a little invite that accompanied the book to this breakfast seminar. But then as a follow-up, a week later, we reached out to them through LinkedIn, inquiring as to did they receive the book? Is it of interest to them? Because, if it is, we're running this breakfast seminar and it's covering, very, very much the same subject matter that the book is covering. And we had phenomenal success from it. So, it's kind of one of those nice stories of kind of blending the physical and digital channels and showing that there is, definitely a place for both and that they do work in harmony.
Absolutely. I think that, when I go out speaking, I often talk about that, like, social selling and is not in a bubble. It's actually part of your sales system. And you've got to take, as you've said, online, offline, and offline, online, and really kind of mix it up and make sure it's omni-channel, because people they don't have a 2-dimensional personality. It's 3-dimensional, and they're kind of working in different spaces. What is the one tried and tested strategy that you would offer listeners?
One tried and tested strategy.
This is to help them scale their sales.
Okay, I would say, and I kind of reaffirm this all the time with individuals that I'm working with. I would like to think that pretty much everybody has a presence on LinkedIn. I would like to think that everybody has spent time building out their network of connections. I think ultimately what I would say to everybody is make sure that you are regularly engaging with those connections that you have made. You are posting content and you are engaging with any content that they may have posted. It's a bit like saying, you go along to an industry event and, sort of one of the coffee breaks, you might network with individuals. And look, I've done this many years ago myself, but during the coffee break, you network with individuals, you exchange business cards, and what happens at the end of the conference? I found myself coming back to the office, getting those business cards, putting them in my desk drawer, never to look at them again. And I have to say, what was the purpose? What was the point in collecting those business cards in the first place? It's exactly the same with LinkedIn. If you're building that network, don't just leave it dormant. Make sure that you engage and stay, engaged and top of mind with these individuals on a regular basis. Use that LinkedIn, use that network on LinkedIn that you've spent time building for, what that network was designed to be used for.
Excellent, excellent. Now, last question. If you're on a desert island on your own, what's the one thing you take with you, Paul?
If I was on my own, it's got to be my running shoes. So I am a runner. I love running. I get out there as much as I possibly can, purely for sanity purposes. It's my time of solitude. I'm away from my computer, from emails, from phone calls, and it just helps me clear the mind. But I also get some really, really good ideas whilst I'm out there running. The only downside is I never take a pen and paper with me. So by the time I get home, some of those ideas that have come into my head, I'm thinking, what was that now? Yeah, it would have to be the running shoes.
Well, I'll make sure that you're on a big enough island to keep you occupied.
Thank you.
Paul, how can someone contact you?
Best way is just look me up on LinkedIn. Send me a personalized connection request. I'm on Twitter as well, but definitely LinkedIn is going to be the primary channel.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Paul, for being a guest on Scale Your Sales podcast.
Thank you, Janice.